Lost my job today. Was cut out by Doge. I'd had that job for 20 years. I was part of the Piper study. It's and we were so close to solving this, and now it's. I guess we will never know. It's I mean, we were studying the best way to pickle peppers and how many peppers can you get in a peck? We may never know. We just may never know now. It's I don't know what I'm gonna do.
So in the latest saga of FAFO news, a Cuban pro-Trump supporter. I mean, from what I'm hearing, this guy, you couldn't convince him that Trump was not going to do him wrong. Anyway, he pushed for Cubans to vote for Trump. And he pushed and he pushed. And obviously it worked because Trump's in office. Anyway, I'm laughing because you can't make this shit up. He got arrested. And according to the customs website, you could look it up. His name is Hector Luis Valdez Cucho or something like that. Anyway, is being processed to be deported back to Cuba. Oh, you just can't convince these people that this guy does not care. I'm sure there's more to come. So have fun, everybody.
He voted for Trump because he promised while he was campaigning like a million times that when he got into office, he was going to bring down prices, bring down grocery prices. The inflation has been high ever since COVID, and he promised he would bring that down. But it's obvious to me now that that was not true. Egg prices have skyrocketed. The bird flu is killing all the birds, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything about that. He's stopping disease communications from the disease centers in America, pulled us out of the WHO. Like, how does that help anything? And yeah, all he's been doing is taking away rights and freedoms, or trying to. He's not doing anything about the economy. So yeah, we totally regret our vote at this point. We've had a really tough time here in North Carolina. Half of my house got washed away in Hurricane Helene, and I applied for FEMA assistance and we got approved. But now Trump is canceling FEMA and emergency assistance to people. He's also canceled Medicaid for my children. I know they said they put a halt on his freezing of the funds, but the Medicaid portal is still not working, so we can't access anything for our children's health insurance.
I'm having a really hard time having any sympathy for anyone who voted for Trump. It's not like you just walked off the street and you've never seen him before and he lied to you. This is a man who has been lying and grifting to the American people for almost a decade now. You knew 3 months ago when you voted for him how horrible he was. And now that it's affecting you, you regret it. Like, I'll say I'm sorry that you're experiencing all that stuff you're experiencing, but it's people like you who have allowed him to do that. So I'm not really sure how much sympathy I can really have for people who do it to themselves. I'll reserve my sympathy for people who didn't vote for him and are dealing with all of the horrible things that he's doing. That's where the majority of my sympathy is going to go.
When they came for people of color, you said nothing. When they came for immigrants, you said nothing. When they came for gay people, you said nothing. When they came for trans people, you said nothing. When they came for women, you said nothing. When they came for children, you said nothing. But now that it's finally affecting your friends, your family, yourself, your husband, now you want to say something? Because obviously you can't have any empathy, unless it actually affects you. You keep saying that leftists are too emotional, they're snowflakes, that they have too much emotion for people. Have you ever thought about the fact that maybe you just don't know what empathy is? Maybe it's because you've never been loved in your life, so you don't know how to have compassion for other people. Maybe the radicalized people, the people who are too woke, maybe They just have kindness in their hearts.
Previous video I've got on there, we are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. But the issue I have is I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the material, already paid for the labor, so I'm out all that cost, and I use my farm operating expenses in order to do those projects, because per contract, I knew that I was going to get cost sharing refunds on the stuff once completed, but now that it's completed, they're saying that they're unable to provide the funds because of the freeze on the Inflation Reduction Act funds. So I reached out to a couple different senators and Congress people. So I reached out to Ann Wagner's office. I have not heard back from them. I reached out to Josh Hawley's office. I have heard back from him, not from him personally, but from his office. And they are looking into it because they said that this should not be happening. The intention was not to take away the funding from the farmers, but doing the Inflation Reduction Act, cutting those costs, then it's also taken away from the programs that those programs helped out. So it's in the works, but what I need from you guys is if you could please share this, tag your representatives, tag your senators. I need to get some ground on this because I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts, even so whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, oh, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that that funding was set aside so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding. They can't release the funds. So please tag the representatives. Please tag the senators. I need to get some ground on this. We need to help me and other farmers out. We've got to get this funding paid out. I don't care if they don't do it in the future. The problem is there was contracts in place. Multiple farms made business decisions, and multiple farms are going to sink if we don't get traction on this and get those funds unfrozen. I need your help to save my farm and many other farms.
Donald Trump specifically said he was going to go after low-hanging fruit. You just didn't think you were low-hanging fruit, and it turns out you are. And now you have entered into a contract with the government where you agreed to do a bunch of work and they were going to reimburse you for it to improve your farmland for future generations. The Inflation Reduction Act gave you that opportunity, and you took it. I would have too. And now the man who's known for going back on contracts and refusing to pay for work that's already been done is doing that to you, the man you voted for. So you were fine when he was talking about removing the civil rights of women and trans people, trampling on the freedoms of immigrants. You were fine with that because it wasn't going to affect you. And you didn't believe that they were going to implement Project 2025. In fact, maybe you didn't read it because pages 294 through 310 talked specifically about how they were going to fuck you. Either you didn't believe it, you didn't take the time to read it, or you just thought everybody that was complaining about Trump and his plans and his policies were just being crybabies? Or maybe you thought those people deserved what was going to happen to them. I don't know. But now it's happening to you. And so I would think that right now is a good time for you to admit that you were wrong and maybe apologize. Because there are a lot of people that are going to be hurt by the things that you voted for and cheered on. And now you're one of them. And I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry that's happening to you. I don't wish it on you. But I do hope that you have the courage to say I was wrong and this guy's a piece of shit. Imagine the type of coalition we could build if people had the courage to admit they were wrong and join hands with the people who were scared originally. We might be able to do something about this.
Y'all effed up. Y'all effed up bad. And the best part about it, we're not even 2 weeks in, and it's already being felt so deeply by so many of you. Now, the funny part is, there's a lot of you out there that are going to be too fucking proud to admit that. There's going to be so many of you out there that still want to ride on this until the wheels fall off no matter what, because the last thing you would ever do while you're breathing is admit that you were wrong. But you were wrong. And we see you. We see you. You can sit there and try to overcompensate for it by being extra loud or by saying, oh my God, this is all wins. I love him. He's doing everything we voted for. This is what we wanted. Okay. You can keep telling us that when I know a bunch of you, if you're not already, you will be soon going home at night crying and getting all worried sick because you notice that grocery prices aren't actually going down, and the very benefits that you use or people that you love use are actually starting to get taken away. He played you like a damn fiddle, and you let him.
So I just had my first encounter in the wild with someone who had been cut off by a family member as a result of them voting for Trump. And it was in a professional capacity, so I wasn't exactly in a position to be transparent with this person about how I felt about them facing the consequences of their own actions. Now, if you remember, I did say that my students don't get into political discussions in my classroom, but being a professor is not my only job. I also have a part-time gig at a local vet hospital. I'm not even a regular on the schedule. I'm really kind of a PRN princess. And I keep the job because it's kind of therapy for me. This is the work that I did to put myself through graduate school when I was getting a divorce, and I just find a lot of comfort in working in this field still. Anyway, a client came in today and thought they had an appointment, but they did not. Fortunately, I was able to get them on the schedule. But once I got them into the exam room, they just fell apart. Full on, ugly crying, hyperventilating, inconsolable. Obviously, I'm trying to calm them down. I get tissues, I get water, I'm trying to help them breathe. And they tell me that they just got into a fight with their child on the way to the animal hospital over the results of the election. And again, professional environment. I'm not offering up an opinion to this person. I'm just trying to get them to calm down enough to achieve what they came there to achieve. But they did keep saying that they didn't understand how somebody could cut off a family member because of politics. And they were just devastated over this nasty fight they had while their child was driving them to the hospital. And this person does depend a fair amount on their child because of medical realities of what their life looks like. And I hate that my mind went here, but I can't help but wonder if it's not what that person was doing for them and not the actual relationship that they are mourning. Because they didn't value their child enough to vote in their best interest. And no, I'm not just assuming that. And here we are, days after the election, and they're just now dealing with the fallout on a personal level, while their child was saying this was the last favor they're going to do for them. I'm not without empathy. This person has had a shitty few weeks. Bad news after bad news after bad news for more than one of their animals. And that's what tugs at my heartstrings. But as for their actual relationship, I mean, it feels like a real around and find out moment. I do hope their pet's okay though.